Wasn't long overdue because I think there's a lot left in the tank here, and your resume grows when you love something and you want to be at something and you want to get better at something, and I'm still learning, especially with a guy like John Tortorella as my coach. Frankie Tomaselli and Lee Graziano, two Irish friends. Thank you for submitting my name. I've known Frankie since I've been 16 years old. He tried to get me in here years and years ago, but believe me, I was talking to Mike Mullally, who I've known for years. I've actually known since I've been a kid. And I said, Mike, we don't work for these things at all. Nobody in this room, whether you've been elected into this or not, you don't work for it. If it comes to you, it is a bonus, and a very, very special bonus. I should have my glasses on. My brother's here tonight, my family's here tonight, my wife's not here tonight. She was hospitalized this morning. So it's the emotions are like this right now, and she's seen a lot of video and things like that and pictures, so I hope she's loving it, what she's seeing. But my brother brought me to my first game in 1968, to a Blackhawk game. Running up to the second balcony, looking out at that ice, seeing the red goalpost, two blue lines, a red line, phenomenal. Life was so pure. Some might get that feeling walking out to Wrigley Field. Well, I got it with Chicago Stadium. Never sat in a seat at Chicago Stadium until I was 13 years old. But 4 years later, I'm in the Blackhawk locker room. Start off as a stick boy, become the very first third man, the assistant trainer of the Chicago Blackhawks under Skip Thayer and Lou Varga. Can't thank them enough for taking a kid and making him into a man. You become a man overnight with the guys like Tommy Lysiak, Tony Esposito, Keith Magnuson, Stan Mikita, Al Secord. You become a man overnight. They taught me a few things that my mother and father wouldn't be proud of. But you know what? That's becoming a man. The things that I learned around the Wirtz family, to be able to be around Bob Pulford, Keith Magnuson, Cliff Coral, and so many, you can't learn going to school. You just don't. There's no way of learning those things. You learn that being around the block, and that's being around the block, being a kid in the Blackhawk locker room. So that was phenomenal. Being in that Blackhawk locker room, I grew to know number 22, Grant Mulvey. Grant and I shared a relationship like I did with so many players. But after Grant was done, and after I was finished with the Blackhawks, he approached me and said, how about starting a hockey school, you and I? And I said, summer? He said, no, winter. Let's go and teach programs, how to teach kids during the year, take over their teams, and doing specialized practices. And I said, Grant, I remember being in the press box at Chicago Stadium as a guest. I said, Grant, it won't work. Well, Grant, you were right. It worked. It was a special, special 9 years. Grant went from there to bring me to the Chicago Wolves, where I was able to meet Buddy Myers, Don Levin, but I knew them prior to that. Two gentlemen that have done so much for the game of hockey here, that treated American Hockey League team like an NHL team. Their first coach, Gino Briaco, who's a guest of mine tonight. And Noah, Gene was hard on me. He knows it. He's probably shaking his head right now. He was my first pro coach, with me being an assistant. But you know, that's the way to learn. That's called being around the block again. And Gino Briaco, I will say to this day, with my 5th year in the NHL, he still is a guy that judges talent more than anybody I've ever seen in my life. So Gene, you're an incredible, incredible man in the game of hockey. To Buddy Myers. Buddy, you have been fantastic to my family, my father. You were great. I appreciate that, buddy. And our friendship. Okay? Appreciate that very much. I want to move on to the Chicago Wolves. Beyond Gene Briaco, John Anderson, Kevin Cheveldayoff, Wendell Young, Wayne Mesmer. Phenomenal, phenomenal people. For me to be there for 18 years. Kevin Cheveldayoff and I still are able to catch up today, and he had the greatest words of advice for me my first year in the NHL. He said, you belong. And you know what? Just hearing those words, you feel it. And I do belong. I know that for a fact. And to be under Coach John Tortorella, who inherited a staff of Brad Larson, Brad Shaw, Manny Legacy, myself, to work for Torts, you have to be spot on. Torts has got a great line. I'm not going to use the word, but he says, don't F it up. And if any of you know Torts, that's how we approach the game. We fly under the radar as a team. We fly under the radar as a coaching staff, but we're very, very well prepared for what we want and what we want out of our players. And it all starts with John Tortorella, an amazing coach. You see and you hear, you read things on YouTube and you read in the news. That's not the John Tortorella that I know. The John Tortorella that I know is the guy that inherited a coaching staff, kept that coaching staff, wanted to give us a living and make us a better coach. And I believe he'll be in not only the USA Hockey Hall of Fame someday, I believe he'll be in the regular Hall of Fame. And what he's done with this team this year, with 11 injuries that we've basically had an American Hockey League team with 11 players out, and we went from 28th place to 8th place in the last month and a half. No more to be said. Michel Goulet changed my life. He hired me for the Colorado Avalanche. He and Pierre Lacroix. I got to meet Tony there in a professional level. I was hired for 8 straight years with their development camp. Michel put me on the map where pro players came to me. Pro players flew me everywhere, but it happened because of one guy, Michel Goulet. Michel couldn't be here tonight because his father is not doing well. So, thank you, Michel. USA Hockey, Rob Stauber. Rob Stauber put my name in the hat with USA Hockey for the women's national program. I got introduced to Katie Stone in Boston, sat down with an interview, and I was hired with the women's program by the time I touched down in Chicago. And I think there was 30 of us that wanted to have the job, and I got the job once I landed at O'Hare. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Katie. But thank you to the women's national program, and I have to bring it up. I had one major question for Katie Stone when I got hired for the women's program. First of all, I didn't take girls serious as a coach. Shame on me. When I got hired for the highest level of the program, the main thing I asked Katie, what do you call them? You call them girls as we call men the boys? She says, no, they're ladies. The ladies that I met, Kendall Coyne Schofield, say no more, greatest hockey player in the world. Hillary Knight, Megan Duggan, the Lamoureux twins, Julie Chu, Megan Bozak, Lisa Chessman, Molly Engstrom, loved her. Gigi Marvin, Jenny Potter, Casey Bellamy, Brianna Decker. These are women that stood out in my mind as being unbelievable athletes. And when they won the gold medal with Rob Stauber, a tear came down my eye at 3 o'clock in the morning watching that team win because we came up a little short in 2014. 2-0 lead, we lost. Silver medal didn't mean much to me that night, but to be able to be part of something and go to the Olympics when you're prior to that, I was with the program for 3.5 years, on and off, flying everywhere to work with the women. It was incredible, and you can see that I'm staying with the women because we've got to stay with the women's game. It can't just be Canada, it can't just be US, and we're seeing better things out of Switzerland, Finland, and Sweden. But we've got to promote the game, and what the NHL is doing with the women's game is incredible. But what the women are doing to stand up as a platform is incredible too, to advance the game. I want to talk about going back to kids hockey. These are people that I loved working for. And when I say for, as Frank Biseglia was a hockey director up here, I loved going to the rink because I loved their leadership. I loved what they represented with kids. And I was all in. And my key was to be part of a program for 3 years, make every kid, if you had a group of 500 kids, I wanted to make 500 kids the same skater. If they said Vinny had heavy feet, we're going to get Vinny to have better feet. If they said that girl, Susie, couldn't play on the squirt team, after 7 months, we're going to get Susie to play on that top squirt team. So I want to thank Matty Rossabella, Mickey Sangiacomo, Frank Biseglia, who introduced me, Kurt Brown, God bless his soul, from Barrington, John Mahoney. John, first guy to ever give me a 10-year contract. Can you imagine a coach in Illinois hockey getting a 10-year contract because they're afraid of losing that coach? I built a house because I got a 10-year contract, and I knew I wasn't going to leave. Kevin Mann, brilliant hockey mind. I've known Kevin for an awful long time. Chuck, I agree with you. I wish I would have agreed with him more on a lot of things because he's terrific at what he does. I want to talk about our players, the team that I work with currently today. To be able to be on the ice every day with our captain, Nicky Foligno, who presented me with an incredible present in front of the team the other day prior to this. Our Columbus Blue Jackets took this Illinois Hockey Hall of Fame very, very serious because one of their own was getting in. So Nicky held a meeting, pulled the group off the ice, and spoke about me in my behalf, and Torts didn't want to say a word. Torts gave me the floor, but I couldn't speak. Cam Atkinson, Seth Jones, Zach Wierenski, Boone Jenner, Gus Nyquist, David Savard, Oliver Bjorkstrand. To be 2 feet away from these players every day in our culture and what we're about and what we're trying to do is incredible. I am blessed to be part of a program that started not only as a player in House League with Illinois Hockey, but as a coach with House League players. And it's amazing what can happen if you believe you are the best and you're good and you want to show that you're good. It's no different than what Buster Stapleton had to say about his size or what Kendall Coyne has said about what she went through as a girl playing basically boys hockey. So for all the coaches out there, I was in Starbucks yesterday and a guy recognized me and he says, "Coach, what are you doing here? I thought you lived in Columbus." He wanted 5 minutes of my time. I gave him a half an hour because he had questions about how he can get to the next level. I never met him in my life until yesterday. I don't know who he was, but I wanted to give him he recognized me, but I wanted to give him a chance. And I told him as a coach, you have to believe in yourself. You visit your hockey director and you ask your hockey director, how do you get better? How can you take it to the next level? You hire the right assistants, you hire the right people in every way around you, and you will become better. Last but not least, Paul Glynn, Josh Pentanuzzo, Frankie Sakala that are with me tonight, ran an ice company for me with my hockey school. When I was done with Midwest Elite, Ice Company became a very, very well-known hockey school. And if it wasn't without those three, that school would have been nothing. So Frankie, Paul, Josh, you're the best. They're sitting back there, so thank you very much. And one more thing. Pete Caliano, can you raise your hand? Pete, I've never had a chance, and we've talked about this before. Pete's parents came from Italy, mine came over from Scotland. We lived one door apart in Elmwood Park, one door. He got into professional baseball, I got into professional hockey, even at the kids level because it is professional hockey. Pete got inducted into the Illinois Baseball Hall of Fame last year, and here I stand today in front of you, and I thank you very much. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.